Hi everyone, this is Christophe Clermont from EFI, and I would like to show you something of version 8.2 for Market Direct Cross Media, which is dealing with events. A very common use case of cross media campaigns is building event invitations or making the people to book current sessions so that you're sure that if you have 10 seats and actually it's not overbooked and people choose that and you actually build all that kind of a flow in a campaign. With version 8.2, we now present you a new extension item, which is the event selector. So I have an empty campaign, I have a clear account, there is no other data on here. So the only thing I'm doing is I'm just dragging that event selector on my stage. And as you have seen, there was a short delay. In that moment, the event selector has done quite some work. It has created a data relation in the background and a database and a table which holds a list of events. And yeah, and actually comes with quite a tree here, which I will actually in that video explain what it's all doing. But first of all, let's see how it feels. So depending on the theme that you have selected, the layout looks like. And what we have here is just a single event. We got a day, we got a time slot, and we got one event. If we want to see it in real action, we need to go to data preview here. And now we see all the events available for us. So as you see, that sample data comes with the item, shows you some cooking courses. And it has already some features built in. So I can click everywhere here and I see the details. So when you click on a certain event here, that gets checked. And in the same moment, you see that a countdown starts counting down. It says 9 minutes, 50 seconds left to confirm your booking. That's the time slot you have to actually submit that booking request or form here. And this timeout, by the way, in the event item, there are a couple of properties here. And there you have the minutes which is left until a booking needs to be confirmed or it's actually freed again for others. Because one of the main problems with bookings is that you don't want to have 11 people booked on a seminar with 10 seats. And this is exactly what that component here, the extension item, event selector, is taking care of, even if you have multiple people on the campaign at the same time looking around the booking system. Another thing we can notice when I click that checker is that the overlap here appeared. So another thing that system takes care of is that if there are overlapping events, you can't book them both. It's just actually only once at a time. And there's another thing, when I click on this one here, for example, I do see an overlap here. And there is a third feature, and the third one is what we actually can see in the second section on the second day. On that day, we got 3 workshops, and I'm only allowed to book one of them. So when I click that checker, it tells me limit here, and that can be, of course, from the design point here, everything is completely flexible and can be changed by you. But that's just a standard configuration it comes with. So when I open that, I can click the other one. But I'm only able to select one of these workshops. How does this all work? So the magic behind lies in the database that has been created by that item, but can also be uploaded by you and modified by you. So let's have a look how the data looks like. Let's go to database and event sessions. So event sessions is a data relation in my campaign. And as I already mentioned, it has been created automatically to make it easier to have a first steps with the event selector here. So it's pretty simple. Let me just hide the LP login column and the lead score and other things we don't need. So what we do have is we got actually 7 seminars. We got 7 titles and a column that's called title. These are required columns. So whatever table you use, and you can have your own columns, you can have additional columns, you can use additional columns in the layout, but you need to have that columns which are required, like title, category, start, and seats, booked users, pending users, details, and there's a last one called the image URL. So the title, of course, is the title of the seminar. Then we have category here. So category is quite an interesting one. It's for two reasons. One, it's shown in the interface so people know, okay, that's a workshop, that's a session, that's a party. But it also can use to restrict the amount of bookable sessions from the same type. So let's have a look back here. When we click on the event selector item, we see limit selected sessions per category, and I can add as many as I want in that category. And so mobile, of course, doesn't make any sense here. It's just there because it's there, but you can ignore it. But more important is that I got a category workshops 1 here, and I got a category workshops 2. In workshops 1, the limit number is 2, so I can actually select 2 of kind of workshop 1, which is actually, I can't select more because I don't have more on the list. But for workshops 2, it's just the limit is 1. So let's have a look back here in the second section on the second day. We got 3 seminars of type workshop 2. And the reason I can only select 1 is because it's set here. When I put this to 2 and it reloads, so since we didn't confirm the submitted the booking, of course, it's just resetting all the settings here. So when I click on one, I still can click on another one. And if I do so, the limit appears. So we got the category. We learned what we can do with that. We got start and end date. This is 2 critical columns because they have to be exactly in that format. That's absolutely crucial. So the system reads from it the day of the event. So it structures your display on the side by day, and then it orders by time slot. So we got the start time and the end time exactly in that format. We got the seats, quite important as well. So tell the system how many seats are actually available, so it can manage to restrict the number of bookings. Then we got how many seats are booked. That's just a column there that you can later on use for your own statistic pages, so it makes it easier for you to build a site where you can showcase how busy your event is. Booked users, that's the internal column where the event selector will write everyone who has booked something. So let's have a look how this works. So going back to the layout here, and we can also do that directly here in the design part. So let me click on the first session, click confirm selection. We are actually set now. We're going back to the same page, and this checker is set. So we have only 19 seats left. So looking back to the database here, we will see when we refresh, we will see that this has 20 seats. Now 1 seat is booked and there's 1 booked users, and that's user number 1. So that's a kind of a syntax here, which just put every booked user in that brackets and just the Xmedia ID of the user. So that's very handy because later on you can filter and get a list of all the users which has been booked for the seminar. Pending users, that's another column, quite interesting. What is a pending user? So whenever somebody selects a seminar like me, but this is not confirmed, this is just kind of a reservation for 10 minutes. So going back to the database, we should see that there is, on the seminar roasting 101, we got the Xmedia ID 1, so the first user of our database, of our campaign database, actually has made a reservation. And we see the timestamp here. So that's exactly when that reservation expires, 10 minutes after, so it will be resetted. Then we get details, which is quite some text, what you can put in there. And we got an image URL, which is right now an external URL. So of course you can upload the images to the cross media and then actually grab the image URL. But right now in that, for the event selector, that requires an external image URL. Or you can put it on your Dropbox and link it from there. And that's about that table. It's extremely simple and clear. So this is what happens when we create a new record here. So let's say title is test workshop, and category is whatever, blah, and we got a start date. So we have to keep an eye on the correct format here. So when we just add another day to that event, we can say it's the 4th of November 2018, and the starting time would be 10 a.m. and then we can actually set the end time to 12. So we got just 2 seats there, and that's it. So going here, we got the test workshop with blah, and going back to our layout. Let me take the shortcut and reload the preview. Should bring us another day and another test workshop here. So that's exactly what we wanted to have. So when I open that, I don't see details because we didn't put any text in here. But also I can book this one. I can confirm the selection here, and in my database you will see that this is then also booked by our first user. Let's have a look at what happens if multiple users want to book the same seminar. So in our campaign database, we got 2 users here. We might add another one. So let's call him A and B as the last name. That will be sufficient now. And let's go back to our design. Goes this way. We can put the username somewhere here, so we see who is actually working. So put the headline in here, and let me just put the first name here. Okay, so that's definitely user A, and when we save that again and open it browser. So we do the same with the other record, with number 2. So open that in the browser as well. So we got John here and we got A here. So interesting, when we look at the test workshop, it just has 1 of 2 seats left because 1 is already booked by our first user. So when I click here and I go back to the other tab, I will see that this is sold out. So it immediately synchronized the data, so he can actually not book that. But if that one is actually freed again, that will be available as well for him. So he can book now. And then, okay, that's a problem here for our user AB because he can't. So when I confirm the selection, then this is definitely his. So John has booked this one. I think this is John here. And it's sold out forever on for the first user. Let's have a look back at the settings to understand how that synchronization, the live synchronization, works between the records. Because for the event selector item in the properties section here, you got a couple of settings. It's only 4. And one of them is the auto load sessions every second. This is determining how often the landing page will reload the data in the back. So that makes the synchronization. If you set that to 0, no live reloading will happen. Yeah, I think 4 is a pretty good value to not overwhelm the server load, but still keep the pages in sync. It's also in the moment when you press submit, the system again checks if the seminar has 3 slots for you. So even if there is an overlap in booking, you can't get more seats booked than are actually there. So that case is handled as well. The other setting which we have here is the event data relation. This is the table created by the item event session. It will be only created if it's not existing on your account. This, you're not limited to that table name because you of course you can open any data relation, give it any name and link it up here. That could be very handy if you have a long list of events of sessions that you might not want to display on a single page but have multiple pages for the people to go step by step through. Let's have a look how that works. So when we go to the database event sessions here, we can create a new data relation. Of course, it's an internal database. and we take the event sessions table, and let's say this is just, I don't know, first block, and create this one. And now we can, for example, apply a filter here and say that whatever column you insert here, which is your certain category or whatever, you can say if it starts with just the first day. So let's just copy that out, go to a filter, go to start. So my first block start, and then we pick starts with and just type the date as a fixed text in here and press OK. So we got only the seminars of the first day. Back to our layout. We can go and might be deselect this, select it once again to refresh the properties, and now we can select the first block here, which will lead to just that we only see the first day. So that's about that session data relation. It can be filtered, it can be different tables, so it's quite flexible. Then there's another checker about show debug infos. This is what I will talk later on extensively when we look about how that layout is built up. The last thing for the basics here is another field that has been added automatically to the campaign database. In correspondence to the booked users of our sessions table, the extension item automatically adds a field to the campaign database called booked sessions, which is the same thing vice versa. So each user gets the IDs of all the sessions that he has booked. So we got number 1 and 8 in that table here, but when we go back to the event sessions, we will see that number 8 and number 1 has the ID of user number 1, so the Xmedia ID. This gives us quite some handy ways to find all sessions for a current user, because imagine that there are other pages, there are overview pages where you want to show people which seminars they have booked, and you want to use normal data relation repeater. You don't want to go for the event session booking item, you just want to get a list of that record, and this is what you can do. So let's create another data relation here, and let's call it again, we base on the event sessions table, and we call it my sessions. And my sessions gets a filter, and this says that my sessions dot booked users contains the current user ID, which will be the Xmedia ID of the current record. So let's do that. So we got a filter now of just the two, like number 1 and number 8. That's because in the campaign database, we are on the first record. When we select the second record in the database and we go to my sessions, we won't have any hits here. That's because this person, John, hasn't booked any seminars. If we go to John's landing page again, and we can say we want to book the homemade pasta and the best and easy homemade pizza, because he's an Italian fan, and confirm the selections here, and go back to the database and reload that one, we will see that there is a booking of 4 and 6. Going to my sessions will show us exactly number 4 and 6 for that particular record. So that's how you easily can deal with data generated by the event selector item. So for the first usage, I would say we basically covered it, and in the next step, I will go into how to modify the layout and how actually the data distribution works.